you know, the things happening in Burkina Faso with President Traore. There's been a lot in the news about the attacks on Traore. I always talk about the power of narratives. You see, narratives is what is used in politics. Politics thrives on narratives. And when they start, it looks childish, it looks simple, it looks small. But it starts growing. It starts growing. It starts forming a colony of opinions that will inform most of the things that will happen in that era and season. Now, on this Traore matter, whether or not it's true, people believe that the West do not want Africa to find her feet. That they want Africa to remain in servitude so that, I don't know what the reasons are, maybe they could provide more cheap workforce. Maybe, as people say, they can have more access to some resources that they need, so that only God knows what. But if humanity exists in Africa, I think it's worth fighting for. So the power of narrative. Information was not open in the days gone by the way it is now, such that everything they throw at the people, they buy into it and take it that way. And most governments succeeded that way. But now, information is open to everyone. We are beginning to see the true state of things. And probably all the casualties Africa had in time past, if he had the information he has now, he may have been saved to some extent from those casualties. People believe that it's this same power of narrative that killed Gaddafi when the Gaddafi saga started. You know, Gaddafi was in Nigeria around the early 2000s. No, yeah, around between 2012 and 2015 or thereabouts, I can't remember. Gaddafi was in Nigeria. And he said that Nigeria was going to be divided along ethnic, religious, and economic lines. But we didn't understand it. What he said is happening right now. And then the West started a narrative about him. You know, there's this attitude of using your own person to kill you. It happens in our country too. You know, when they want to do things against the Igbos, they will send an Igbo man to speak to that effect. When they want to attack a Yoruba man, they use a Yoruba man. When they want to demonize a Northerner, they will use a Northerner just to give credence to whatever they are saying and make it look like it's not about our differences, you know. And this is exactly what is playing out by the recent onslaught against Traore from the United States. Michael, whatever. You know, the guy started by saying that Traore is using the country's gold to protect himself. He called it corruption. They come on the grounds of corruption. But we want to even begin to understand what they call corruption when we look at it from our Nigerian view. If the US is so concerned about corruption, why are they shielding Tinubu? President Tinubu, the president of the most populous country of Africa. Why? Why are they shielding him, knowing full well that he has things on him in their country? And they watched with every joy. And Tinubu was imposed on Nigerians. They never called out the corruption of INEC. They never called out that abuse of the Nigerian people, that when election process has not been concluded, one man in the middle of the night was declared the president of Nigeria. They never accorded us the help we needed to unfold the person of the man who wants to lead millions of people. And up to now, they keep playing politics with the destiny of Nigeria. They call him CIA assets. That is not corruption. If they're so much interested in fighting corruption in Africa, they should have beamed their light on Mr. President Tinubu. Now, they go to A man who their people feel is working for them. They say politics is local. What do you use to measure the quality of leadership? It's in the people, the opinion in the field. That's the real measure of the leadership a people have, the opinion of those that are being led. It might not be 100%, but a greater percentage of that opinion. So you see a country who their people feel their president is working for, whether it's an opium or is real, is giving them hope. And then you want to come into the midst of that hope and shatter it in the name of unproven allegations. In the midst of jealousy, with jealousy. Tell me which African country that these people have accused of corruption that they really saved. Once they're coming, it's never business as usual and the people never recover. Look at what is happening in Congo. Look at what happened in Libya. Libya is a shadow of itself. We can keep counting the examples. For all the time, an African leader was killed in the name that he's going against his people. Was there any deliberate measure taken to rebuild the lives of the people and the quality of the country? No. It's like the instability in Africa is a useful resource to those who destabilize it. Look at Nigeria. Nigeria is now a shadow of itself. We have people who are supplying sophisticated weapons that are not produced in Nigeria to terrorists, giving them aids, shielding them. You think if they wanted the terror in Nigeria to end, that it wouldn't have ended? Oh, the life of the black person doesn't matter. There are samples for that. Samples for experiments, embodiment of sickness and poverty. They are not worth living. Their superiority or their worth must be continually diminished. But when Africa is free, humanity will rejoice for it. So the power of narratives, give the dog a bad name in order to hang it. You know, I will also tell you about the power of narratives in Nigeria. They have started against Nigeria's viable opposition, Peter Obi. They are pushing him to join their coalition so that he will be made redundant and irrelevant there. They are now also saying that he comes from a faction of Nigeria that calls Nigeria a zoo. Why have they even in the first place referred to the country as a zoo? It's not the country. It's the people managing the country that has turned it into a shadow of itself. Because the things happening in the country can only happen in places where there is no leadership, where every man is on his own, an asylum without the leadership. Leadership is important. So they bring up this narrative and they continue. We will not. We are going to fight every narrative in this election season. They are coming up with narratives. And it must not fly. This narrative must not fly. I cry for Nigeria. I feel for Nigeria. You know why? The glory of a big brother has been taken from her. Every African youth is heaping behind Traore, whereas they looked up to Nigeria to provide that leadership. You have an African Union that cannot union for itself, that cannot see anything, any project Africa through without the influence of the West. Nigeria is leading the ECOWAS. What do you expect of that leadership with what is happening in the country? This man's lifelong ambition was to be president and not to govern. To govern is a different ballgame. And to have access to government is a different ballgame. I cry for my country, Nigeria, because it has lost its place. She has lost her place. Nigeria has lost her place in God's program for Africa. And one thing is that nature abhors vacuum. Every space will be filled up with something, whether good or bad. And thank God there's a beam of light coming out from that side. Traore must be protected, and every African must hit behind Traore. Africa is a big family. And if Tinubu is watching, I don't know if he watches this regional politics, because he said he doesn't watch social media. Tell me how the president of a country cannot study the biggest platform where opinions are shaped, and people are bringing him tidings, negative or positive, like a king. The walls of the kings whose ears are blocked. Ezonyagwalam. King, don't tell me they don't care about the true state of things. They are carried away by power, craze for power. Nigeria must regain her place. If President Tinubu is watching these trends, Nigeria must regain her place. Unfortunately, it is the same country that this Traore is trying to be free from, that our president is frolicking with. Nobody told Nigerians what Mr. President has been doing in France for more than 2 weeks. Only that they came back and had another bloated solar whatever project. So watch out for narratives. We will not use ourselves to kill ourselves any longer. We will not use ourselves to kill ourselves any longer. Every country has sovereignty. And I think that those who feel they can run a country from proxy should mind their business. Africa is wise. And if you see an African leader who wants to do the right thing, they can do the right thing.